In action cinema, some of the most breathtaking fight scenes are never seen by the public. They're filmed with full choreography captured from multiple angles and spoken about by the cast and crew as the very sequences that were meant to define the movie, yet they vanish after a single round of test screening. Sometimes the violence is too graphic. Sometimes the pacing feels too intense. And sometimes a handful of early viewers merely felt uncomfortable, prompting the studio to remove entire battles that once carried the emotional weight of the story. These aren't small trims or minor adjustments. These are full-scale sequences, elaborate street fights, extended dojo confrontations, multi-opponent showdowns, or climactic brawls that once belonged at the core of their films. In some cases, the scenes appeared in early trailers. In others, they were screened only once on rough cuts shown to a private audience. And for a few, the footage is said to exist somewhere in an unfinished vault, while fans have spent decades wondering why the version they saw in theaters felt strangely incomplete. Studios rarely discuss these deletions openly. Directors sometimes hint at them years later, describing the original scenes as too intense, too long, or unexpectedly brutal. Test screening cards written anonymously become powerful enough to reshape entire movies. A single note, "This fight was disturbing," or "The hero feels too violent here," can change the final cut forever. And what remains is a condensed, softer, safer version that hides the raw ambition its creators once had. Today, we uncover the films where these lost battles once stood. These are the action movies where entire fight scenes, sometimes the best scenes ever filmed for the project, were cut after test screenings, leaving behind the ghost of what might have been. Fact 1: Hard Target's Lost Warehouse Ambush. Before Hard Target reached theaters, it featured a far longer and far more brutal warehouse ambush built around John Woo's signature slow-motion choreography. The scene originally showed Chance Boudreaux dismantling a dozen mercenaries with a mixture of acrobatics, knife work, and improvised weapons, including an extended sequence where he used a hanging chain to disarm multiple attackers. Test audiences, however, reacted strongly to the relentless violence. Several viewers described the scene as overwhelming, while others said the brutality made Van Damme's character feel too merciless, shifting the tone of the film into a darker, more predatory direction Wu did not fully intend. Universal grew nervous that the escalating ferocity would push the film into NC-17 territory, and after discussions with the MPAA, the studio cut nearly the entire extended ambush. Only fragments remain in the theatrical version: a quick kick, a shortened takedown, a few flashes of what was once a grand fight sequence. The full version has never been officially released, though bootleg work prints occasionally circulate among collectors, offering glimpses of the missing battle that once defined the film's midpoint. Fact 2: Rapid Fire's Eliminated Alleyway Brawl. Rapid Fire originally included a lengthy alleyway brawl that was intended to be Brandon Lee's major showcase of close-quarters choreography. Filmed with wide lenses and fluid camera movement, the fight emphasized Lee's speed and precision as he disarmed gang members in a dimly lit side street. Test screenings, however, generated complaints that the sequence felt too raw and uncomfortably vicious, especially when Lee locked an opponent into a joint-breaking hold that played out in near silence except for the sound of impact. Producers feared this level of realism would push the film toward a harsher rating. The studio also believed the prolonged combat slowed the narrative pacing before the film's second act. As a result, nearly the entire fight was removed, leaving only a few quick cuts in the final version. Crew members later admitted the deleted sequence was one of the most technically impressive fights Lee shot for the movie. Its absence remains a point of frustration for fans who know the production notes, describing a stunning set piece that disappeared after a single test audience reacted poorly to its intensity. Fact 3: American Yakuza's Missing Mafia Vs. Yakuza Clash. American Yakuza once featured a savage gang confrontation that acted as a turning point for the protagonist, charting his loyalty between two violent worlds. The original fight was staged in an abandoned construction yard where American mobsters ambushed a Yakuza unit in a chaotic multi-angle brawl involving pipes, chains, knives, and handheld tools. According to crew reports, the sequence ran almost 6 minutes and ended with a brutal close-quarters duel that underscored the film's themes of identity and allegiance. When shown to a test screening audience, reactions were sharply divided. Some found it thrilling, others described it as disturbingly realistic and emotionally exhausting. Several audience members commented that the violence felt personal rather than cinematic, making it difficult to sympathize with any character. Columbia Tristar executives, already concerned about marketing the film, decided the entire scene risked alienating viewers and demanded its removal. The final cut only hints at the clash through brief shots and aftermath imagery. The full sequence has never resurfaced, leaving behind a rumored lost fight that many believe would have been one of the film's defining moments. Fact 4: Best of the Best IA's Erased Underground Arena Battle. Best of the Best I was originally built around a series of escalating underground arena fights, but one of the most intense battles, a full-length confrontation between Travis and a rival gladiator, was completely removed after early test screenings. The scene reportedly showcased brutal, full-contact choreography, emphasizing exhaustion, body damage, and a prolonged struggle that pushed both fighters past their limits. According to stunt performers, the sequence was filmed as a gritty homage to no-holds-barred tournaments, with long takes designed to let every strike land with frightening clarity. But test audiences reacted strongly to the realism. Some described the fight as painful to watch, while others said it made the film feel far darker than any previous entry in the franchise. Producers, fearing the tonal shift would overwhelm viewers and draw criticism from ratings boards, made the decision to cut the entire fight. Only a few seconds of its aftermath remain in the theatrical cut. Crew members later noted that this deleted battle was among the film's most ambitious set pieces, a raw, physical showcase that would have elevated the sequel's reputation had it survived the test screening process. Fact 5: The Quest's removed tournament showdown. Jean-Claude Van Damme's The Quest was once home to a significantly longer world tournament sequence, including a fully filmed match between the protagonist and a little-known fighter from the early round brackets. This fight was meant to emphasize the diversity of global fighting styles and the brutality of the competition. Shot with dramatic spotlighting and a circular dolly track, the scene reportedly highlighted intense grappling exchanges and a final takedown that left the crowd roaring. However, when tested with early audiences, the sequence drew criticism for making the film feel too slow and overly violent during moments that were supposed to build anticipation for the later rounds. Several viewers also noted that the match made Van Damme's character appear overly aggressive too early in the narrative. Studio executives, hoping to streamline the pacing and avoid an R rating, chose to remove the entire fight. Fragments of production footage suggest the lost scene was beautifully shot and featured choreography far more complex than many of the matches that remain in the final cut. Its removal left portions of the tournament bracket feeling abrupt, with a noticeable jump between rounds that fans have questioned ever since. Fact 6: Rapid Fire's deleted campus fight sequence. Besides the alleyway brawl, Rapid Fire originally contained another full-scale fight set on a university campus. This sequence involved multiple gang members attacking Jake Lowe in a courtyard at dusk, choreographed with fast pan shots and dynamic stunt reactions meant to mirror Hong Kong-style rhythm. Filmmakers intended the scene to show Jake's rapid adaptation under pressure, building his transformation from bystander to active combatant. Yet in test screenings, this fight received mixed responses. Some viewers praised the energy, but others felt the extended choreography disrupted the story's momentum and made the character appear too proficient too early, undermining his art. Executives also feared the combination of youth violence and weapon choreography would draw negative reactions from parents, especially given the college setting. Ultimately, the entire sequence was removed, leaving a noticeable gap in Jake's progression. In behind the scenes interviews, stunt team members expressed disappointment, revealing they had designed the confrontation as one of the film's standout showcases. Its disappearance remains one of the film's most significant losses, a dynamic character defining fight erased before the public ever saw it. Fact 7, Bloodsport, Opening prison fight. Bloodsport, originally featured a raw and extended prison fight that was meant to establish Alex Cardo's reputation before the story transitioned to the Kumite. Shot in a dim, shadow-washed cell block, the scene showed Cardo fending off multiple attackers using elbows, knees, and improvised techniques inspired by real inmate combat. According to crew accounts, the choreography was far harsher and more grounded than the tournament fights, giving the film a grittier tone that contrasted sharply with the stylized action that followed. When the sequence was shown at test screenings, however, reactions were polarized. Some viewers found the scene captivating, but many described it as too brutal, too uncomfortable, and excessively realistic. Producers feared it would dominate the opening act, shifting focus away from the tournament and potentially earning unwanted scrutiny from censors. As a result, the entire fight, nearly 5 minutes of carefully staged action, was cut from the theatrical version. Only a short, sanitized scuffle remains, offering little hint of the ambitious set piece that once framed Cardo's transformation. Fact 8, Drive 1997 and the Lost Restaurant Melee. Drive, known today for its inventive martial arts choreography, originally included a longer and more chaotic restaurant fight between Toby Wong and a squad of corporate enforcers. The deleted portion reportedly featured tabletop combat, intricate blocking through narrow aisles, and a thrilling moment where Wong used a serving tray as a spinning shield. The fight was designed as a major early highlight showcasing Mark Dacascos's speed and precision in a confined environment. During test screenings, the extended version received mixed comments. Some loved the creativity, but others said it made the early part of the film feel overly frenetic and exhausting. There were also concerns from distributors that the tone became too comedic at times, undermining the darker narrative threads that followed. Under pressure to tighten pacing and sharpen tonal consistency, the filmmakers trimmed the restaurant sequence heavily and ultimately removed the most elaborate exchanges entirely. The final cut still contains flashes of brilliance, but longtime fans and martial arts enthusiasts often praise the rumored full version, describing it as one of the most inventive scenes the film never got to show. Fact 9, Showdown in Little Tokyo's Erased Dojo Clash. Showdown in Little Tokyo once featured a lengthy dojo fight where Chris Kenner confronted a squad of Yakuza trainees in a brutal, claustrophobic melee. The choreography blended Aikido throws, Kenpo strikes, and traditional weapon counters, all shot with dramatic overhead lighting that cast exaggerated shadows across the tatami mats. Crew members said the fight was intended to reveal Kenner's past training and connect emotionally to the trauma behind his hatred for the Yakuza. However, test audiences had a surprisingly negative reaction. Some viewers complained that the fight felt too long and disrupted the pacing heading into the final act. Others found the brutality excessive for the film's blend of action and buddy cop humor. Studio executives, worried that the darker tone would overshadow later scenes, ordered the entire dojo battle removed. What remains in the theatrical release is only a brief, transitional moment, creating a noticeable jump in the story. Fans have long discussed the missing sequence, which many believe would have added depth, emotional weight, and one of the film's strongest visual compositions. Fact 10, Out for Justice's missing barroom rampage. Out for Justice was originally built around Steven Seagal's intense, methodical takedowns, and one of the film's most infamous deleted fights was a full-scale barroom rampage that went far beyond what appeared in the final cut. According to crew members, the uncut version showed Seagal dismantling nearly every patron in the bar with escalating viciousness, joint breaks, weapon disarms, and prolonged close-quarters strikes. The fight reportedly ran over 6 minutes, ending with a brutal finishing move that early viewers described as shockingly excessive. During test screenings, the reaction was mixed but intense. Some audience members cheered, but others wrote on their cards that the violence felt mean-spirited and uncomfortably real. Studio executives grew worried that this level of force would paint the protagonist as more sadistic than heroic, undermining the intended moral framing. Combined with fears of stricter MPAA scrutiny, the decision was made to remove nearly the entire sequence. Only a heavily reduced version survived, leaving fans to speculate about the legendary uncut fight that was once positioned as the movie's centerpiece. Fact 11. Double Impact's deleted twin team fight. Double Impact once featured a fully filmed fight where both Van Damme characters Alex and Chad teamed up in a synchronized twin assault against a group of mercenaries near the film's midpoint. This scene blended split-screen technology, stunt doubles, and practical choreography to create a flowing two-pronged attack that highlighted the contrast between the twin styles. According to stunt coordinators, it was one of the most technically challenging sequences ever shot for the film. But when shown to a test audience, the reaction wasn't what producers expected. Viewers found the extended choreography confusing, with several noting that the split-screen and body double transitions felt distracting in its unfinished state. Others commented that the long fight slowed the pacing and diluted the tension leading up to the final confrontation. Fearing that negative feedback would carry into the theatrical release, the studio opted to cut the entire sequence rather than refine it further. Only seconds of its setup remain in the final film. The full twin team fight, described by those who saw the early cut as spectacularly ambitious, has never resurfaced, becoming one of the most talked about missing scenes in Van Damme's career. Fact 12. Only the Strong's removed rooftop battle. Only the Strong originally contained a dramatic rooftop fight between Louis Stevens and a rival capoeirista, intended to serve as a stylistic showpiece that emphasized the acrobatic grace of capoeira against a nighttime city backdrop. Filmed with sweeping crane shots and tight handheld coverage, the duel included spinning kicks, aerial sweeps, and a dangerous stunt where both performers nearly toppled off the roof's edge. The scene was designed to raise the stakes before the final showdown and give Stevens a personal challenge connected to his past. However, when the rough cut was screened for test audiences, the rooftop duel drew criticism for feeling too long and too exhausting so close to the climax. A few viewers also remarked that the darker lighting made the fight difficult to follow in its unfinished form. Studio executives concluded that the scenes slowed the pacing and risked overshadowing the final confrontation. As a result, the entire rooftop sequence was removed despite being one of the production's most technically demanding set pieces. Only trace references and behind-the-scenes photos remain, hinting at a visually striking duel that would have added another layer of style and tension to the film. Fact 13. Lionheart's lost dockside fight. Lionheart originally included a tense dockside fight where Lion faced two hired brawlers beside shipping containers just before boarding a freighter. The choreography emphasized Lion's exhaustion and desperation, with wide shots capturing the industrial backdrop and close-ups highlighting the punishing body blows exchanged. According to crew notes, the brawl was gritty, messy, and emotionally charged, meant to show how close Lion was to breaking before entering the underground circuit. When shown to a test audience, however, the reaction leaned negative. Some viewers felt the extended violence made the film's first act drag, while others wrote that the fight made Lion appear too aggressive before the audience had fully connected to his motivations. Producers, already worried about runtime, decided the entire dockside confrontation disrupted pacing and removed it entirely. Only small hints remain in transitional shots, leaving behind a missing scene that once filled an emotional gap in Lion's journey. Fact 14. Marked for Death's erased drug lab battle. Marked for Death once featured an elaborate drug lab assault in which John Hatcher fought his way through a maze of gang enforcers using improvised weapons and environmental choreography. The original scene reportedly ran over 7 minutes and included multiple one-on-one confrontations, culminating in a brutal machete exchange, filmed with practical sparks and breakaway props. According to stunt performers, it was intended to be one of the film's signature set pieces, showcasing Hatcher's relentless precision and the scale of the criminal operation he was dismantling. Test screenings complicated everything. Viewers complained the sequence felt too intense, and several noted that the violence crossed into uncomfortable territory, especially with the gritty realism of the machete work. Studio executives feared the MPAA would push for a harsher rating and that the extended brutality shifted the film's tone from action thriller into outright exploitation. As a result, the entire drug lab battle was cut, leaving only brief flashes in the theatrical edit. The full sequence has never been publicly released, making it one of the most mysterious omissions in Siegel's filmography. Fact: 15 Cyborg's deleted Desert Showdown. Cyborg originally contained a lengthy desert showdown where Gibson Rickenbacker confronted Fender's scouts in a dusklit stretch of wasteland. Filmed with long lenses and wind machines kicking dust across the frame, the scene blended martial arts choreography with post-apocalyptic grit. Crew members described it as a stylish, almost Western-influenced set piece, featuring wide duels blade clashes and a mid-fight tumble down a sandbank that took multiple stunt performers to execute safely. However, when the rough cut screened for early audiences, the sequence received divided feedback. Some praised the atmosphere, but others felt the fight slowed the momentum leading into the final confrontation. A handful of viewers noted that the violence felt too bleak, especially given the harsh setting and the unforgiving tone. Canon Films, struggling financially at the time, chose to streamline the pacing and remove the entire desert fight to tighten the film. The result is a version of Cyborg that jumps abruptly toward its finale, with fans long speculating about the ambitious desert showdown that was shot, edited, previewed, and then erased. Bonus fact: the vanishing fight of Red Sun Rising. Red Sun Rising once featured a full-scale nighttime alley fight that was meant to be one of Don the Dragon Wilson's most ambitious action showcases. The scene pitted his character Thomas Hoshino against a trio of assassins armed with short blades and a custom-made chain weapon designed specifically for the film. Shot with neon backlighting and rain effects, the fight blended traditional martial arts technique with stylized noir visuals, resulting in a sequence that crew members described as one of the most atmospheric battles ever filmed for a Wilson movie. During the film's test screenings, however, the reaction was unexpectedly harsh. Several viewers found the dagger work too intense and commented that the sound design, consisting of amplified blade scrapes, impacts, and body slams, made the violence feel unsettlingly real. Others noted that the fight was so visually striking it overshadowed the later action scenes, creating an imbalance in the film's rhythm. The studio, concerned about tonal consistency and the possibility of stricter content warnings, decided to cut the entire scene. Only production stills and a few seconds of behind-the-scenes footage confirm its existence. The full alley fight has never been released, making it one of the most elusive missing sequences of 1990s martial arts cinema, a stylish rain-soaked showdown that disappeared after a single preview audience deemed it too intense for the final cut. Hidden fight scenes like these remind us how many incredible moments vanish before a movie ever reaches the public. Test screenings shape the final cut, but they also erase battles that were once choreographed, filmed, and nearly ready to become defining pieces of action cinema history. If you want to keep uncovering the lost versions of the films you thought you knew, stay with this channel. There are still countless hidden sequences waiting to be revealed. Ready for the next one.